So Monster Hunter has finally reached the point where it's leaving the 3DS behind and its minuscule screen for new pastures. For most this means waiting the long wait for Monster Hunter World, which comes out next year, but for those of us who really like Monster Hunter, there is another option: Monster Hunter Double Cross on the Nintendo Switch. I was a little cool on Generations, too many repeating farm quests, not enough monster variety, and some styles broke a few weapon types and it became a shameless easy mode of dull gameplay for a few types, but Double Cross, which is basically Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, is a bigger, more balanced version of the game with new monsters to hunt and returning favourites that were left out of the base Cross/Generations release. I have a JP eShop account on my Switch, so I picked up the demo, gave it a try and thought, man, I'm never going to be able to go back to the 3DS after playing this. But the question of course is, how do people get it? And there's really two options: importing or digitally. In the future, importing is going to be a snap. Just go to any website that imports, be it a big site like Amazon or a smaller niche site like PlayAsia, just click buy, wait, job done. But this video is being made around the time of release, and Capcom produced enough units for Japan and its domestic audience. And unfortunately for them, all of us worldwide filthy gaijin can get in on the action en masse now that Nintendo gave up on the region locking meme. This means stocks are low, real low, and by the end of this week it's probably going to be sold out everywhere, because every player in the world willing to go to the trouble of eating into its product numbers means it's meant for one domestic market, but everybody gets it, and that means not enough people can get it, physically at least. This leaves online, and that's when things get a little bit fiddly. Some dodgy sites will sell a code for the game, but they've not all been that trustworthy, so the most trustworthy source is naturally on the console itself, namely the eShop. Snag here is that you need a Japanese eShop account, which is simple to do and honestly is something worth having on your Switch, since there are some great exclusives to it and a fair few have multi-language settings by default, so you can just change it to English anyway. It's not the case for Monster Hunter, but it's the case for a lot of them. So what you want to do is go to accounts.nintendo.com and log out to your main account if it's signed in, and create a new account like, I don't know, my name JP or something, and set the region to Japan. That's the important part. Now go onto your Switch, create a second profile and follow the instructions you get sent by email to link the two using a verification code. Now you can buy Japanese eShop games. Simple. Sort of. See, now it comes to the actual purchasing section, and there are options, but they get increasingly difficult. There's PayPal now, but only for Japanese PayPal accounts. There's credit cards, but again, if you're outside of Japan, this can be a rigmarole. Your best bet is eShop points cards, but only Japanese ones will have the codes that work on the Japanese version of the eShop. In this instance, Monster Hunter Double Cross is just under 6,000 yen, which depending on your region is around, in my case, 42 English pounds and about around 55 bucks American. This means you need a 5,000 points card and a 1,000 points card, as Nintendo does not produce a 6k value card. Which means you have to either find a place that ships cards to you or use an online service that mails you the codes. Personally, I used PlayAsia. At the time of making this video, the 1k codes are out of stock, along with most sites that import them are basically all running out of eShop codes right after Double Cross releases. I wonder why. And this is meaning that you kinda have to, at least right now, pick up a 5k and a 2k card, which comes to close to around 50 or 60 pounds/dollars, but considering import costs for a physical version and how many hours I will get out of it, I consider this a fair price. I figure if you're this much of a Monhun fan that you want to do this anyway, then you're probably going to go that little extra mile. So I paid PlayAsia, waited maybe 5 minutes, so go make a cup of tea or something, I don't know, and when you come back you should have two codes waiting for you. Just open the eShop, select your My Name JP profile to go to the Japanese one, remember, go down to the bottom left option and just input the codes. Now you will have the balance to simply buy Monster Double Cross like you would have any game on your native language eShop, and the 2.2 gig file will begin to download. Congratulations on your first post-3DS Monster Hunter game. So now you have Monster Hunter Double Cross installed on your Switch. Good job, Hunter, that's most of the legwork done, but not quite. While I will end the video with a quick guide to each important menu to get you started, there is always room for self-improvement in Monhun, and in this case it starts with your smartphone and Google. First off, go to the App Store on your phone and pick up the Google Translate app. It's a fantastic real-time translation app that simply lets you hold up your phone if it's, compatible to any menu and instantly translates the text for you to some degree. It's not always perfect, but if you have two green potion icons and one is translated to drug and the other is grand drug, a Monhun player of even minor experience is going to know that that's your small and big healing potions, for example. Just remember to check in the options to download the 45MB Japanese to English language pack, where it will try to cane your data caps doing it online, and this way you can always have it ready on your phone even when you're out and about hunting with friends, locally wirelessly. The second important aid in getting around is Kiraniko, which I will add a link in below and in the annotations. It lists everything for Monster Hunter Double Cross with a English and Japanese name for it. So for example, there will be quests where it will say find the ferns, to deliver 8 ferns. You can check the list, you can check the names, compare the two, and it will tell you what you need to do. And simple, right? Then the monster hunts are even simpler. You have the icons for the monster, so for the most part this is really just used for crafting and upgrade materials. Things Google cannot translate. Sure, it could tell you how many bones or wings you need, but Rathian Flame Sack? Not that likely, you know what I mean? For the most part, of course, it's assumed anyone desperate enough to import Monster Hunter Double Cross is at least familiar with the games and has probably played Generations. So for the most part, it's less about going in blind, more about just learning what the items that share an icon or crafting materials are. After that, it's back to good old monster hunting good times, same as it ever was, albeit with 2 new styles to learn added in. So with that, you've bought the game, you have the tools to gain a rudimentary translation of what items are what and where, and there's really only one core issue left to solve, and that's the menus. Step 3 is more straightforward because old Dan has done the work for you this time. We are finishing this up with a quick once over of the menus to get you started. Eventually you will pick up the muscle memory of going through the motions like you have in any other Monster Hunter, especially Generations in this game's case, but for now this is a quick start guide on where to get the ball rolling on your new hunter. I'm talking about vendor windows, the crafting gear upgrader, the guild mom, the cook, your chest, the Nyanta board, the NPCs of the ranch, and of course the player menu for game control and multiplayer interaction. First things first, always remember that yes or hi is always on the left and no or ie is always on the right. You will quickly become familiar with the hiragana for these two if you are used to the Monster Hunter interface, so basically recognizing the simple 2 symbol written for yes or confirm of course means that the opposite is going to be no or cancel, which will make going through a lot of the beginning walls of text of the intro much faster. Remember, at this point when you begin, it's basically the same intro as Monster Hunter Generations, so there's no need to worry about skipping any dialogue. So let's begin with the most important window, the player pause menu, now brought up by hitting plus on the right Joy-Con. For these menu descriptions, it's basically a descending list going from top to bottom, so I will simply say a series of words. If you have the game open, you could just check, and if you compare it to the 3DS version, if you own it, sure enough that you will see these are one and the same. So first off, for the player character window, from top to bottom you have item pouch, combine, combo list, quest info, palicos, hunter notes, friends, and chat. For the quest giving NPC, you have blue options, which are your village star quests, which of course will be in descending order of difficulty from easiest at the top, hardest at the bottom, and will unlock as you progress, same as any other Monster Hunter. There will also be green for training quests. For the Master of Styles, you have Styles, then Arts, then About Styles. For the Armory, you have Buy Weapons, Buy Armor, and Sell. For the Smithy, you have Forge Weapons, Forge Armor, Upgrades, and Decorations, with the sub-menus of Forge and Set for the decorations. For the Palico Armory, Forge Weapons, Forge Armor Head, Forge Armor Body, and Trade for Scraps. For the Flight Attendant, you will not have much unlocked at the start, but it should end up as the Japanese equivalents of Burner, Kokoto, Puck, Yukumo, Online Hub, and Offline Hub. And finally you have the market, which is buy, sell, and buy to send to the box. Inside the house you have your housekeeper, which when completed, bear in mind that these options will not all be there at the start of the game, you will have from top to bottom Monster Hunters, Trader with the submenu Order Items, Browse Wares and Village Requests, Palico Dojo with the submenus of Lessons and Special Training, Change Housekeeper, Gallery, DLC and Claim Bonuses. Your item box will be Store Items, Take Items, Item Sets with the sub-options Current, Register, reorder and unregister, combine/manage items, change appearance, manage equipment, equipment sets, and change style/arts. Moving on to the Palico Ranch, we have the dojo with lessons with the submenu support lesson, skill lesson, forget skill, and special training at the bottom of the root menu. For the Meowstress, you will have hire, scout, hire a special, name change, and dismiss. The trader has order items, browse wares, and village requests. The Palico board has Prowler mode with the sub-options swap mode and select Prowler, select Palico, support moves, Palico skills, manage equipment with the sub-options equip, arrange, sell or change clothing, equip sets, train and dismiss. Finally, we go to the Hunters Hub where A selects Offline Hub, Y selects Online Hub, and the Guild Store is of course Buy, then Sell, then Buy to Box. Then the Guild Gal has low rank quests, high rank quests, special permits, and the new daily quests option. Lastly, we have the Arena Instructor with 3 options: tournament quests, challenge quests, and online ranking. With this rough guide to compare and contrast to the original English you are used to, this should help you get around using the Japanese menus in Monster Hunter Double Cross. With these in hand, you can just double check, reference anything from the Kiriniko website, maybe have to use the Google Translate app, but for the most part, this should allow a game which, let's be honest, doesn't have much story to allow you to play it just like you would any English translation. So now let's end the video with a quick look at the quests. Some will be very clear about what you need to do. That needs bones, that needs bugs. The image of a Tetsukabra probably means that you got to hunt a Tetsukabra, but what about the one that's a delivery quest, just an image of a red chest? Well, let's use the first one as an example. If you go to Kiriniko and check the 1-star quest, the first is for ferns. If you check on Kiriniko for the fern item and then check the quest name, yep, that's fern at the end of the quest name. So what you need to do is load up the quest, remember what the name of the fern is. Perhaps my advice is usually, if it's something with a type or element, look at the first letter in the name. If it's not, then because there's a lot of fern type items or a lot of bugs that are very similar, it's usually the last 2 or 3 that are different. In this case, compared to all the other ferns on the first map, Jurassic Frontier, these 3 are the difference, so you want to look at these. Now, if you open your pause menu and, just like any other Monster Hunter, go down to the 4th space for the quest, you'll see something which requires 8. If you compare it to the quest name in Kiriniko, that's the ferns. So what you want to do, of course, is go out to the usual fern spawning farm nodes and pick until you see that pop up. As you can see, we've got a few of those, so if you compare the quest name and the item name, you can see that yep, that is the right fern that you need. All that's left is to speed through the video until we have got the right amount. With the right amount, you do what you usually do and you go up to the red chest, deposit them in, and there you go, quest complete. This was not used knowing anything about the Japanese language. You do not speak it, you can barely read it, but there you go. Using the guide, not even using a translation app, Kiriniko has allowed you to do one of these quests which does not have a very clear icon to tell you what to do to begin with. So this ends the video. I hope it was informative and I hope some of you really give it a try and don't feel put off by the Japanese language. It's really easy to play and have fun with it. Thank you for watching and see you next time.